Hello, everyone. It is the Canadian Futures Trader here. It is Friday, February the 19th. It is just after 1 p.m. Market's just closed, and I have an update for you on my LeeLoo Express 10-day evaluation. Today is day 3. So to give you the short version of the update first, and if you want to listen to me ramble for 10 minutes, be my guest. Basically, another profitable day. We made about $560, and that puts our total at just under $2,900 in profit. So the goal is $6,000, and we are currently at $2,900. So pretty happy with that. So what you are looking at is actually a recording of my desktop. Now, you're unfortunately not going to see the trade, and I'll explain why in a second. So I recorded this earlier just after the trade happened, mainly because I didn't have time to record this video at that time, and I wanted to at least capture kind of what the market was doing just shortly after I had my profitable trade. So unfortunately, I actually did go to record my trade. I opened the trade, I set my stop loss, I set my take profit, I opened QuickTime, and right when I was getting ready to hit record my screen, trade was already over. Had already ticked down 3 ticks. I went short, so it ticked down 3 ticks, and we were out of the trade. So I didn't even get the chance to record it. You might be thinking, why weren't you just recording the whole time? The trading was a little bit more important than recording the screen. I at least remembered to try and record the trade. And honestly, I am not used to bond trades working out in less than a minute. I'm going to show you it. It literally was less than a 1-minute trade. I have the trade executions to show you. So what you're looking at, in case you're interested, and I'll show you the trade in a second, is Jigsaw. This is my desktop. I changed the desktop layout time to time so it might look different. What I have here is only bonds. I did trade the bonds. On the left, this DOM is let me look here. This is the 10-year note. In the middle is the 30-year bond, ZB. You can see, if you zoom in, you can see the little indicator up here, or I should say symbol, not indicator. And ZF is the 5-year note on the right. So what I'm doing is I was mainly looking to trade the 30-year, but the bonds typically, and again, this isn't like a lesson, but just to give you some insight into what I was looking for, the bonds typically all move together. So the 5-year, the 10-year, the 30-year, if one of them is pushing the lows, chances are they're all going to be pushing the lows. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the actual setup for the trade that I did. The trade I did, I went short at 14. So I would have been in here, and I got out 11. Remember now, we're already pushing like the very lowest of lows, and this one had not. At that point, it had already traded down and kind of come back up. But the other two were still pushing those lows, looked like they were going to break. And when they tend to break, the 30-year tends to break as well, sometimes a little bit more dramatically. So say the 10-year breaks 1 tick down, the 10-year might break 2 or 3 ticks down. It just moves a little bit more than the other. So that's kind of the rationale without having the actual specific trade. I will actually next week hit record first, trade second, so I can actually try to capture one of these trades. And that was it. I mean, I honestly didn't expect it to pan out in less than a minute, but it did, unfortunately. You can kind of see here. So again, if you're not familiar with Jigsaw, this might look like a bunch of gibberish. Essentially, just focusing on the middle here. Here's the total. This is like a volume profile. If you're familiar with volume profile, that's what this is. It's the total number of contracts traded at each price level. The gray column is the price level, and I have it kind of condensed just because I don't really need to see the entire price. Really, just the last 2 digits work just to kind of identify. Seeing on the outside blue column and the outside red column are changes to that level. So, for example, 970. So there was originally, I don't quite know how to explain it properly. I'm not the best at it, but it's changes too. So what I'm looking for is if you're starting to see a lot of contracts being added to one side and taken away from the others. I mean, right now there's like 153. We're just at this level, 181, 329, etc. And if you start seeing people pull off of here, sometimes it's an indication that, it's going to move one way or another. So, and then these 2 inside columns are probably 2 of the more important ones. These are actual traded contracts. Like it's, if I was to continue watching this, I'm going to think, you've got 606 on the ask, only 194. You had 194 get pulled off. Some of those were bought and some of them were, they pulled away. So you've also got the 10-year and the 5 years kind of moved up here. It's not quite at the bottom. So there you go, guys. Just a quick kind of example of what I might be looking at, and hopefully next time I'll actually have my real trades. But that's kind of like what was happening back when I did do my trade, was seeing it march down, was seeing both of these come down, really expected this to kind of push down even further. So I'm going to stop this now because this was a screen recording. I'm going to show you the actual trades. So here's the chart from Rithmic. As you see, I did a screenshot like a while later. So here you go. I went short right here. I'll zoom in on the video, and literally was out like the next bar, and I'm going to show you in a sec the actual trade confirmations. Total profit for the day 562. Total where I'm at 102.86 or 28.91. So pretty close to 2,900. Goal is 6,000. We are in fantastic shape. So this is also from Rithmic, completed order. So this is all the same order. So, and it kind of goes chronologically. So first thing is red because I went short. So I went short at 8:43 and 1 second. I sold. I went short 6 contracts, the 30-year contract, limit order. I usually don't use market orders for the bonds just because there's such little like movement, I would say. Like, you know, you can put in a limit order and get the price you want. Average fill price. So this is kind of the extended price. This is since bonds trade in, or the 30-year bond trades in 30 seconds. So this is 14 30 seconds, if you will. And this is 11 30 seconds. And this is how Jigsaw showed them. Remember I mentioned 14 and 11. That is these numbers. This is actually calculating out what would 14 30 seconds be, in case you're curious. So anyways, we went short with a limit order at 8:43. Then I started goofing around with QuickTime, trying to get it. And before you knew it, 58 seconds later at 8:43.58, we bought 6 contracts, limit order. So that was my take profit. I put it in 3 ticks down, and here you go. That's where we got it. And then this is this canceled order is my stop loss. So Jigsaw set up, and I mean most platforms would be that once my take profit is hit and execute it, it'll cancel any other orders I have out there. And you can customize that however you want, but that's how I have mine set. If it hits either my stop loss or my take profit, it'll cancel the other order as well, just so I don't have to worry about them hanging out there. And you can see here, that was my stop. That was my stop loss. And that's basically it, guys. So a little summary. Nice. I cannot complain. 1 minute of actual trading. Now I don't want anyone to think like I just popped on my computer, jumped in, 1 minute later, made $500 and off I went with my day. I was actually watching this for a good while in the morning, planning out. I don't just randomly jump in. So I was actually waiting for a pretty good setup. There was actually probably a few before that. I just didn't act on them. It looked like though it was going to keep pushing down, waiting for all those bonds to kind of come down to that lower level. And it did not look like they were going to reverse. So I was like, you know what, let's go short. And I mean, it was a little bit fortunate. Like I wasn't necessarily expecting it to snap 3 ticks necessarily. But it did, and hey, we got paid on this one. So day 4, so next week will be days 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So goal, I would honestly say, is to kind of be done by day 8, next Friday. And then the following week, we'll just have 2 days left. We can, put in the one kind of placeholder trade just so they count as trading days and be done on day 10. And then we get to go from there and we get to experience together what it's like to get funded with LeeLoo. Not to get too far ahead of myself, we do still need to pass, but always good to be in a position like this where we're a little bit ahead of the game. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already. Follow along. In case you're wondering, I don't know if anyone cares or if they saw, when I busted my 250K OneUp evaluation, I had mentioned I was going to try it again. That was my intention, but then this LeeLoo thing kind of came along, and I don't want to be trying to trade, OneUp evaluation, LeeLoo evaluation. I have my own accounts, and I have a funded account. So it just gets a little bit out of hand. So I kind of decided to just hold off on the OneUp 250K evaluation. I'm sure I'll get back to it at some point. But for now, I'm just going to focus on this LeeLoo thing. Let's get through it and pass. And hopefully you guys are too. I liked yesterday, I asked if anyone else was doing an evaluation, comment below, and a bunch of you did. So it sounds like everybody's doing pretty well. So that is terrific news. So continue to do that. Hey, let me know what your status is like. Win or lose, if you bust, there's no shame in that. I can count many, many busts over the last year for myself. So it happens. So as long as you learn a lesson from them, that's what I always try to do, is take away some lesson, what I did wrong, and try not to repeat it. Some of those lessons I've had to learn many times over, but they do eventually sink in, I guarantee you. As well, link down below, let me think, to my LeeLoo video that explains everything about it, the payouts, the different evaluations they have, etc. As well, a link to my website I created, which really just has information about these evaluations, programs, hardware, software I use, the free resources I highly recommend. Please check them out. All right, guys, if you've hung in there this long, I'm just going to show you rather than just tell you. Come to my site, CanadianFuturesTrader.ca, go to free resources, scroll down. John Grady is where I learned to trading Jigsaw. If you're interested in trading bonds, that's a good resource. There's tons of free videos. He has Peter Davies is the creator of Jigsaw, also a cool guy, and he puts out a ton of educational content. A couple forums, but what I really want to draw your attention to, and I mentioned it before, Chat with Traders podcast. Go to their site. They also post them on YouTube. They're in Spotify on their podcast. They're in Apple Podcasts. Here's a bunch of episodes that I like, and I legitimately have these downloaded and saved in Spotify so that I can just listen to these at random. These are ones I recommend. This one, the last one I listed, John Rambo Moulton, 40-year pit trader. Highly encourage you, and there's a video version of this. This was like a live lecture, it looked like. I highly recommend this. There's just so much information, especially if you're new to trading. Like, I just think there's tons of wisdom in there and encouraging things, but like a realistic kind of tidbits, if you will, for traders. So, and he's an entertaining guy. So if you're bored, check that out on the weekend. You can watch it right here on my page, or just search for John Rambo Moulton on YouTube. Okay, guys, and with that, I will finally end this long video. Again, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I will make another video on Monday.